So the year was 1984.
And the year was 1942.
Not to mention the year was also 2010.
Yes, indeed it was. Hey, it's the internet, Richie. Look, they're watching us.
Ooh.
You see him there?
Hello, Internet.
Mm,
Good to see you.
good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
We are Game & Watch. This is the show where we explore a year in video games and movies. We're playing a little, we're going a little back in the past today, it looks like, Richie.
Yeah, quite the blast from the past. Ooh, hoo, hoo.
Before either of us were born.
Before I was even a twinkle in my grandpa's eye.
In 1984?
1942?
Oh, in 1940. So this all started when we were looking at games from 2010 for another game that we're gonna play, and and we found that there's the movie 2010, and then that came out in 1984.
It sure did.
And that got us looking at video games that came out in 1984. And as it turns out, there's one called 1942, which is this one. How much of this have you played preparing for this, Richie?
I've probably put in a good solid 20 minutes of playtime, making sure I could get this actually going.
Right. Is it all airplane battles, or are there like ground based?
I'm pretty sure this is all dogfights.
Okay.
Above these green things that look like islands.
Sure, those green potatoes on the ground.
Gotta love them. Them greens.
In the purple ocean.
Purple ocean, green potatoes. It's a magical land. Alternate World War II.
So as we alluded to, there is a film called 2010 or 2010, the year we make contact, and this is a sequel to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Who knew that there was a sequel to 2001? Not me.
I had heard that it existed, and you know what? I had actually. It's bizarre because I remember this quote from it. That's, "My God, it's full of stars," which they repeat a bunch of times in it.
In reference to the universe?
In reference to the monolith. So I'll get to that.
Okay.
I had seen it. I had seen that beginning part like when I was a kid at some point, but I don't remember any of the rest of this movie at all. So "My God, It's Full of Stars" is a reference to the last transmission that Dave makes at the end of 2001. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert for both 2001 and 2010. I'm just gonna have to spoil them in order to fully talk about them. It's
too soon.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm sure if you're a film fan, you've probably seen 2001. I don't know, maybe people haven't seen it, but I rewatched it just to give myself a refresher, because it's an interesting one, 2001, to begin with. And basically at the end, they're on this mission to Jupiter, because they have this thing called the monolith that they found on the moon has sent a signal there, so they're going to Jupiter. A robot called HAL 9000 kills them, all except for Dave.
I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Dave.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And Dave is out in this pod, and he comes across another monolith, but this one is 2 kilometers long. It's this gigantic black kind of candy bar floating in space.
Delicious.
And then he sees it, and in the book, this is based on an Arthur C. Clarke book. In the book, he sends a transmission back that says, "My God, it's full of stars." In the film, he sees that, like he goes through this like really bizarre psychedelic star journey, and I've tried to come to grips with what it means fully.
Was he tripping balls the whole time?
I mean, it looks like it. In certain ways, maybe so. I mean, not on drugs, but on
high on the universe, man.
High on alien, mind-altering, whatever.
It's out of this world.
Have you seen 2001, by the way?
I'm gonna be honest, I have not.
Okay.
I need to.
You know, it's one, you know, it's not like we've been alive since 1968, so it's like we have only had our lifetimes. Yeah, it's, you know, it's a beautiful looking movie. And I think all of the parts with HAL 9000 are really engaging. But overall, it is a pretty slow piece, and you kind of have to be in the mood for it. But anyway, this is not a show about 2001. I just had to set it up a little bit. Because in 1984, what's that? 16 years after, they made a movie called 2010, which I was just thinking, I wish they had called it 2001-2.
That missed opportunities. Oh God, fucking damn it.
Which just, I don't know, that would have been very silly.
20,012.
we go 20,000 years in the future. Arthur C. Clarke actually wrote 3 sequels to 2001.
Oh,
which
so there's a lot of legitimate source material.
Yeah. So there is 2010 Odyssey 2 is the name of the second book, and actually I bought the first book after watching these movies because I'm very curious about diving into it more, because I think it's a really interesting world that they create here.
Have you read much Arthur C. Clarke?
I have read 0 Arthur C. Clarke.
Ooh, same. Let me know how it reads.
I will do. You know, if it's worth it, I may lend it to you afterwards.
Ooh. I'm for it.
So 2010, a much different movie. 2001, like I said, is this like slow, kind of methodical art piece, basically. And 2010 is more of this
cash grab?
Well, I don't want to say that necessarily, but I mean, 2001 was a very successful movie. So in certain respects, I mean, it's hard not to think that. But
it's kind of hard not to think that with most sequels, I feel like.
That's definitely true. Yeah. So the director, producer, writer, and cinematographer is Peter Hyams on this one.
Am I familiar with any of his work?
Maybe so.
Son of a bitch.
I think he did. What did he do? Did he do End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Perhaps.
No, he didn't. I'm not really familiar with. He did not apparently. Anyway, he did Time Cop.
Oh,
wait,
hell
what
yeah.
End of Day. Wait, why does it say? Okay, yeah, he did do End of Days. Okay. Anyway, so, apparently he got blessing from Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke. It sounds like the quote unquote blessing from Kubrick was more like, I don't give a shit, just go ahead and make a movie. I don't want to make it.
Do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. I'm Stanley Kubrick. I made the Shining.
For some reason, my Stanley Kubrick's got a southern accent. I don't know why.
Was she a great big fat person? My Kubrick is Buffalo Bill. Oh, wait.
Hashtag not my Kubrick.
Anyway, so yeah, so he at least got permission, and there's it's this thing. It stars Roy Scheider, of Jaws fame.
Is he the mayor?
No, he's the main guy. He's the sheriff.
Oh, okay.
And he's basically playing Roy Scheider here. A very similar similar in like acting and attitude here, if not in character overall. But he's basically the guy that like sent them out to Jupiter, so he feels like responsible that everybody died here. And so they end up working with the Soviet Union, which is still around in
2010.
Yeah. And the Cold War's still going on.
Cold as ever, I'm sure.
Yeah, well actually it does heat up during the movie.
Oh.
And then cool back down. But like basically it starts with him talking to this Russian guy, and they agree like, okay, we gotta work together to send a crew out to Jupiter to study the spaceship, because the spaceship is still there, but none of the people are.
Where'd they go?
That's the question. Well, I mean, most of them died. Dave Bowman is his name. Dave Bowman is the character's name. He
from a long line of manly bows.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's a reference to David Bowie, or if David Bowie is a reference to that. I'm not gonna look it up. You look it up at home at your computer,
and then give us the answer in the comments.
Yeah.
Show us who's boss.
Won't you do that? Take it into your own hands. Grab life by the David Bowmans.
Grab life by the Bowmans.
So the Russian crew here, one of the like heads of the crew is actually Helen Mirren.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and she's great in this, by the way. She may be, well, it's kind of her and Roy Scheider, I would say, are like kind of competing for being the most awesome in this movie. Bob Balaban is one of the American crew. He's like the science guy. And John Lithgow is also on the American crew.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so like it's got a great cast. There were other folks I recognized in the Soviet crew, but I don't really know them by name. But some of them you would definitely recognize by seeing them. But yeah, so it's it's basically this thing where like they're put into hibernation on the thing, and then Roy Scheider is woken up first before the rest of the American crew, and so he kind of connects with the Soviets first. And they've found like signs of life on one of the moons of Jupiter. And you know, it's this interesting tone, because it's this shift from this like late 60s very slow feel to this 1980s more of an adventure film pacing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So a lot more like kind of it's not quite this entertaining, but it's like kind of Spielbergian. I guess the Roy Scheider helps that. But I don't know. Is
it just Jaws in space?
Well, no, it's not. It doesn't really have horror elements to it necessarily, but like it does have interesting things. So basically he finds eventually that that David, I'll just call him David Bowie, that David Bowie is like a space ghost now. So he's like existing in another plane, essentially. So like he at the end of the movie, at the end of 2001, after he's had like this really psychedelic trip through like the creation of the universe and stuff like that, he sees himself as a progressively older man, and then he sees himself as a giant like fetus in space looking at the Earth.
That sounds disturbing.
Yeah, oh yeah, it definitely is. And then like, so in this movie he's able to manifest himself to Roy Scheider and speak to him, and he keeps saying that like, you guys have to get out of here because something wonderful is going to happen at Jupiter. And it's like this weird comforting tone as he's telling Roy Scheider this, but like, you know, a comforting tone and telling him to get out of there is like a little spooky. And as he's talking to him, like he's like changing into older versions of him, and then he very like briefly turns into the space baby. I wish they had had a little bit more of it. I know it would have looked cheesy, but this movie is cheesy, so I think it would have
not for the lactose intolerant.
It would have made it definitely worth a watch, whereas it's only kind of worth a watch, I'd say, for kind of hardcore 2001 fans. Or for I would be curious for an astrophysicist to watch it, because there are interesting things which happen in it. I won't get into all of them, but so at the end of the movie, basically a bunch of monoliths show up, a bunch of these 2-kilometer long perfectly smooth, you know, candy bars in space that turned David Bowie into a space ghost. Like literally, at first I think they say over 1 million of them show up.
Oh wee.
And then it creates this dent in the side of Jupiter. Let me see.
Doesn't sound like Jupiter's going to be ascending after this one.
Oh no, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Jupiter ascending, man. Watch our Rocket League episode to hear more about Jupiter ascending. So all these monoliths show up. There's this big dent, and then Jupiter kind of implodes and then explodes, and creates a new star at the end of the film.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I am not an astrophysicist, as I don't know if you could tell at home. I'm not an astrophysicist. I think I would have led with that. But or I would be doing a different YouTube show. Anyway, it seems like to make Jupiter into a star, you would need to add a lot of mass to it, like 80 times the mass of Jupiter currently.
Make it super fucking dense.
Make it super dense. So, I mean, it seems like here maybe the monoliths are adding mass with their own mass to Jupiter. I don't know if that's what they if that's what they like said with the dialogue. But you know, and I was thinking like, okay, well, could that be possible then, even if that at that point, if they added 80 times the mass of Jupiter and it became the smallest size of stars, and theoretically, apparently it could, and the gravity wouldn't like completely screw up everything. I did not think that would be the case by the end of the movie, but so it's like now from Earth there are these two stars, like we've got the sun and then a star that we can see from a Jupiter distance.
I feel like that would melt us.
Well, it wouldn't be...
Oh, no, that'd be way farther than the sun, wouldn't it?
Yep. Yeah, so it wouldn't be... it also wouldn't be as hot as the sun. It would take a lot of mass for it to be as hot as the sun. So actually, like with the... As far as my understanding goes, with a the smallest and coolest star,
so cool,
it could exist with everything there. The coolest of stars, Jupiter. I'm skipping over a ton of stuff here. Like I'll get back to a little bit of it, but it's like it's so hard to talk about it all because a lot of it happens. A lot of it all happens, in fact. Anyway, man, it's an interesting one, man. Like, I don't know. It's
turn
not
us into
that
Tatooine.
It's not one. It's not one that I like overly loved or anything, but like I think people should dip a toe in if they're interested, and especially if you've seen 2001 and enjoy it. I'll go back to a few things. So, on planet Earth, Roy Scheider's family has pet dolphins.
Something tells me that's not very ethical.
Not quite kosher. No, yeah. Not only does he have pet dolphins. I mean, his wife is a marine biologist, so they should know better. A, B, the pool that they're in is like 8 by 12 feet. It's this tiny like indoor pool in their living room, and they have 2 dolphins in it.
Jesus, it's probably only like 6 feet deep too, huh?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Those dolphins can't even dive. Shame.
Maybe they're synthetic future dolphins.
I mean, with the way this movie's sounding, I wouldn't be surprised if they become space dolphins.
Then we'd be getting into Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy territory. So long and thanks for all the fish. Also, so they get back to the Discovery, which is the spaceship that they went to in, or that that David Bowie was in in the first movie, and they find Hal there. They wake him up. He's the, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. This very maybe that's where Eddie Redmayne got his soft-spoken voice. He just took it to the next level for Jupiter Ascending.
He was just doing his Hal.
He's doing his HAL 9000 very badly. But it's like it totally works in 2001, by the way. Like, one of the best film characters ever, I think, is HAL 9000. Like, that delivery is constantly, he's constantly like unemotional, but also very, very menacing. And I think it works because he's a robot. He's an artificial construct and not ostensibly a human being who yells only every so often. But in this, they don't have enough fuel to get back to Earth from Jupiter as they're trying to escape the big like denting Jupiter star event that happens. And so Hal has to like launch them, basically, like use the Discovery to launch them far enough in the Soviet ship. And so the scientist guy goes in there and he's like talking to Hal to like start the launch sequence. But
Hal doesn't speak Russian?
No, well, the science guy is American.
Oh,
but they're like lying to him at first, but the science guy is like so science that he wants to be truthful. He wants to be truthful to Hal, so he eventually tells him the truth. It's like, well, like if you do this, the Discovery and you are going to be destroyed, and if you don't do this, then we'll all be destroyed. And so then Hal kind of gets to be the hero because he decides to launch them.
Oh, Hal's redemption.
Yeah, I didn't really love it.
Too out of character for him.
In the like cash grab sense of a sequel, it just felt like a cheap, like, we're like entering back into this old movie and like going into the old remakes of the old sets and like a remake of the old character with like a remake of his personality and motivation. So it just like I don't know, it kind of undoes, like, it's supposed to undo what he did in the other movie, but like that just makes him less scary.
Yeah. It makes him less heartless when you give him a heart.
How could you be so heartless?
So heartless.
Yeah.
I'm coming up on land.
Hey.
And these colors are awful. Jesus.
The biggest green potato. I like the green plains on the green lands. That's very helpful.
Oh man, can't see shit.
Anyway, so it's like I'm very curious about the books. This has made me super curious about them and like what the monolith really means. And I'm sure even in the book a lot of that is left up to interpretation. Like at the beginning of 2001, there is a sequence of the quote unquote dawn of man, and it's the famous scene with the don 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 don
Oh,
don 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 don.
that's where that's from.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think it was a pre-existing song, but that's like where it became culturally relevant for modern folks. And so there's like these apes that it shows like early apes like at kind of the transition point between apes and humans, and they discover the monolith, and then they all touch it, and they go like they're all going ape shit, as it were. And then they discover how to use tools, and so they learn to hunt, but after they learn to hunt, they learn to defend themselves by killing other apes. So it's this kind of implication of the monolith giving them a certain knowledge. I guess almost like the apple in the Garden of Eden, to get biblical.
Okay.
So I mean, it has all of these very interesting things, and it's kind of like it's a bizarre movie because it's 2010 is a bizarre movie because it's feeding off of this like very deep thing, but it's much less of a deep tone, and so it's a really hard one for me to give a rating to, because on the one hand I think that folks should watch it, and I enjoyed a lot of it, especially Helen Mirren and Roy Scheider's performances in it. But I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is 27 out of 69 cats.
Ooh. Not the worst.
Not the worst.
Not the best.
A lower rating than Jupiter Ascending.
Oof.
It's fine. Like, it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things. Effects-wise, they get the actors back, the guy that played David Bowie and the guy that played HAL 9000. But just not as not as impactful of a movie as 2001, and in general just not as good.
So it kind of goes the way as most sequels.
Yeah, just kind of retreading a lot of the same ground, doing plenty of interesting things, I would say, but just like as far as good movies go, it ain't one of them.
It's not necessary watching, but recommended.
Yeah, I would recommend it to the intrepid film goer.
Righteous. Oh, I'm coming up on land again. Oh no.
If you don't see it, I will say at the end. So the star is born.
So Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga come out at the end.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a good movie too. I have not seen it.
Is it really?
That's what I've heard.
I think that's like the third version they've made of that one.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them. One of them has Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson in it.
Barbara Streisand.
Yep. Ooh 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 ooh.
We can't afford duck sauce, so we just have to sing it a cappella.
I had to sing it the worst I can, so we don't get copyright tagged. At the end, after the star is born, Europa, the moon, like it shows it becoming a more of an Earth-like place, like plants start to grow and liquid water is there.
Ooh.
I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, astrophysicists and astrobiologists, but I don't think that Europa would be in the habitable zone for any kind of star. Maybe they used space magic to push it further. I don't know, but that's about all I got on 2010. How has the experience of playing 1984's 1942 been for you?
I'll probably never play this again.
It doesn't look like there's a lot of variability.
So it hit arcades 1984. Hit up the NES in Japan in 1985. Made its way to America in 86. But it's just those days, arcade games were just kind of like, like Galaga, Centipede.
Something to get quarters out of you.
Exactly. Thankfully, I don't have to put any quarters into my computer.
Sure.
It would not be worth.
Well, you know what, folks? At any rate, this has been fun. If you are a fan of 2001, watch 1984's 2010. If you are a fan of video games, I'm guessing you would look elsewhere from 1984's 1942.
Yeah, probably.
Is that fair to say?
Very fair to say.
Well, this has been Game & Watch. I've been Aaron.
And I've been Richie.
This is the first episode we've recorded since we went live on YouTube. This will be a few weeks out. But we're excited for the future. If you're watching this all the way to the end here, it would help us out if you could subscribe.
Smash that subscribe.
It's a little basic to say, but we really could use it.
We sure could. So please like that, subscribe, and subscribe to that like button.
Thank you for sticking with us. This has been Game & Watch with 2010, 1984, 1942, all of the numbers.
Mathematical.